The sun was slowly setting behind the mountains, painting the sky a vibrant orange when I arrived at the ancient temple. The stone walls were covered in moss, and the lanterns hanging from the wooden beams swayed gently with the cool afternoon breeze. The air was infused with the scent of incense, dancing around me like an ethereal spirit. The temple was a sacred place, a refuge where the wisdom of the ancients permeated every corner. It was there that I, Ling, met with my closest friends, Wei and Jun. "You arrived just in time, Ling," Wei exclaimed, his voice echoing in the large hall. He was standing on one of the wooden benches, his eyes shining with excitement. "The wise monk is going to tell us about the numbers that attract wealth. You won't want to miss this." Jun, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, looked at me with a calm smile. "What do you think, Ling? Do you believe these numbers can really help us?" I smiled, but I couldn't shake a twinge of doubt. True wealth always seemed to me to be more than just numbers or material possessions. Wisdom and health, to me, were the true treasures. But I didn't want to discourage my friends. They were motivated by dreams and ambitions that I deeply respected. "Let's listen to what the monk has to say," I replied, trying to keep enthusiasm in my voice. Perhaps there is something valuable in his words. Soon the monk entered, his serene presence illuminating the room. Silence settled, and all eyes were fixed on him. He sat down on a simple altar, surrounded by lit candles and fresh flowers. His voice was soft, yet carried a power that commanded our attention. "My young friends," he began, "today we will speak about the numbers that can bring wealth and happiness in 2024. But remember, true wealth is not measured in gold or material goods, but in the connections we make and the virtues we cultivate." With each word from the monk, my heart raced. He continued to speak about the numbers, describing how each had a special meaning and could attract good things into our lives. Wei was absorbed, almost as if he were visualizing a fortune materializing before him. Jun, on the other hand, seemed contemplative, as if he were trying to decipher the essence of what was being said. "These numbers," the monk said, "are like seeds. If planted with care, they can bloom into unexpected blessings. But if treated merely as a way to gain wealth, they can bring only disappointment." By the end of the talk, Wei was radiant. "We need to learn more about these numbers. Just imagine what we could achieve if we used them to our advantage." His ambition was palpable, and I couldn't help but wonder how far he would go to get what he desired. "Calm down, Wei," I intervened. "We can't forget what the monk said. True wealth lies in the virtues we cultivate." But he was so caught up in his excitement that he hardly heard me. "Let's make a wager," he suggested, a gleam in his eyes. "Each of us chooses a number and bets everything we have on a game of chance. If we win, we will be rich." "I don't know if that's a good idea," I said, feeling a chill in my stomach. "What if we lose? What will be left for us?" Jun, ever the dreamer, looked at us with a hopeful expression. "What if it's an opportunity to learn? We could see this as an experience, not just a bet." Wei nodded in agreement. "Exactly. Let's have fun. And if we win, we will have resources to realize our dreams." That idea made me uneasy, but I didn't want to be the voice of discouragement. So I reluctantly agreed. "Fine, but we need to set limits. We can't risk everything." That night, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The game would take place at a local tavern where many townsfolk gathered to bet on games of chance. I felt nervous as I watched Wei, who was growing more and more excited. He seemed to be in a state of euphoria, while Jun tried to maintain the warmth of the moment. "I choose the number 8, Wei proclaimed, as if he had found the key to success. "That's the number of luck and prosperity." "I'll go with the number 3, Jun decided, his dreamy gaze reflecting the hope that luck would be on his side. "I believe it represents creativity and friendship." Then it was my turn. I looked around, trying to find a number that resonated with what I believed. "I choose the number 1, I said hesitantly. "I believe it represents the beginning of something new." The 3 numbers were recorded, and as the night progressed, the tension grew. Wei was eager to play, while Jun seemed more introspective. I wondered if I was making the right choice. The game began, and Wei was in his element, shouting and cheering with every round. I didn't share the same excitement. What was going through my mind was a mix of worry and uncertainty. Luck, much like life, was something volatile. When the night finally came to an end, Wei emerged victorious, holding a small fortune in his hands. His joy was contagious, but at the same time, a weight settled in my heart. Jun and I, on the other hand, left empty-handed. "I can't believe it," Wei exclaimed, holding the coins in his hands as if they were pure gold. "We're rich. Now we can start realizing our dreams." "But what about us?" I asked, the sadness showing in my voice. "What will we do now?" Wei looked at us, but his gaze was distant. "Don't worry, friends. Wealth is just the beginning. We will conquer the world together." In that moment, something inside me broke. As Wei became lost in his new obsession with wealth, I realized we were on different paths. The laughter and stories we shared felt distant, overshadowed by the new light that fortune had brought into his life. "We need to be careful, Wei," I said, trying to keep the friendship alive. "Wealth can be treacherous," but he seemed not to hear. Euphoria had consumed him, and I knew our friendship was about to face a test we never imagined. As I walked away, I felt a sense of loss, as if a part of me was drifting away with him. And so, looking at the stars that shone brightly in the sky, I realized that the true wealth of life was not about winning or losing, but about the connections we make and the lessons we learn. The journey was just beginning, and I knew we would need to face the challenges ahead, together or apart. I remember the day when the seed of discord began to germinate between us. The atmosphere in the village was charged with tension, and I, Ling, was increasingly worried about Wei's obsession with wealth. He had distanced himself not only from me, but also from Jun, who, with his dreamy spirit, was trying to find a more meaningful path in life. The morning was clear and sunny when I decided to confront Wei. He was in his shop, surrounded by piles of goods that sparkled under the sunlight. The aroma of spices and exotic products filled the air, but the scene felt empty to me. Wei was so absorbed in his calculations and transactions that he barely noticed my entrance. "Wei," I began, trying not to let my apprehension show. "We need to talk." He looked up, but the expression I saw was not that of a friend, but that of a man driven by his own ambition. "Ling, I don't have time for empty conversations. I'm about to close a deal that will change my life. But at what cost? You're distancing yourself from everything and everyone. The wealth you're seeking may not bring the happiness you imagine." My words were laden with genuine concern. He laughed, a laugh that seemed to echo off the walls of the shop. "Happiness? Happiness does not pay the bills, Ling. You should understand that. Life is tough, and I'm just being pragmatic. Wealth is the only way to ensure a secure future. But what is security without friends and love around you? Don't you realize you are becoming a shadow of yourself?" I said, feeling the urgency in my voice. "You speak like a dreamer, Ling. Is that what you and Jun want? To live in a world of ideas while I work hard to create something real?" The coldness in his tone cut me like a knife. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "It's not about dreaming or not, Wei. It's about finding a balance. You're so focused on making money that you've forgotten what truly matters. And if you lose everything, what will be left? If I lose everything, I will reclaim it. I can always do that. But for now, I need to move forward." He gestured, pushing me away from his shop. "Sorry, Ling, but you don't understand what I'm trying to build." I left the shop with a heavy heart, With each step, I felt the chasm between us growing wider. Wei was so consumed by the idea of success that he could not see the beauty of life around him. I needed to find a way to help my friend. But how? That same afternoon, while reflecting on the situation, Jun appeared at my door, his face concerned. Ling, have you seen how Wei is behaving? I'm really worried about him. He doesn't listen to anyone. I tried to talk to him today, Jun, I replied, feeling a knot in my throat. But he is so obsessed with wealth that he can't see the truth. He thinks all of this is what matters. Jun shook his head, his eyes filled with determination. We need to do something. I heard of an old sage who lives in the mountains. He has profound knowledge and may help us understand what is happening with Wei. Do you really think he can help us? I asked, hopeful. Yes, I think so. He is known for solving riddles and bringing clarity to the most complicated situations. If he can give us some advice, perhaps we can help Wei find a different path. The idea of seeking the wisdom of the old sage gave me a glimmer of hope. Jun and I decided to leave immediately. The journey to the mountains was long and full of challenges, but we were determined to find answers. Hours passed, and we finally arrived at the sage's cabin hidden among the trees. The place was serene, and the air seemed to vibrate with a special energy. The old man, with his long white beard and piercing eyes, welcomed us with a warm smile. What brings two restless young people to my humble abode? He asked, his voice soft as a whisper of the wind. We are worried about a friend of ours, I began, explaining Wei's situation and his insatiable quest for wealth. The sage listened attentively, his eyes never leaving us. The pursuit of wealth is a trap that many fall into, he said, his voice carrying a tone of wisdom. But true wealth is not found in material possessions. Sometimes an enigma is needed to understand the essence of what really matters. He then presented us with a riddle that, according to him, would help us comprehend the numbers that attract true wealth. Listen carefully. I am a number that represents unity, the foundation of relationships. Without me, you may have everything, but nothing will have value. What number am I? Jun and I looked at each other, trying to decipher the riddle. Unity, I murmured. That must mean something deeper. Perhaps it is the number one, the beginning of everything, Jun suggested, thoughtful. Without one, there is no two, no connection. The old sage nodded, a satisfied smile on his face. Yes, but remember, there are many numbers, and each one has a meaning. To discover true wealth, you must look within and see what you truly value. After the conversation, we left the mountain with lighter hearts, but still confused about how to apply what we had learned. Back in the village, I wasted no time. I needed to share what I had learned with Jun, and more importantly, with Wei. When we found Wei again, he was more immersed in his business than ever. The sparkle in his eyes had dulled and his smile had become a rarity. Wei, I began, hoping he would listen to me. We need to talk about something important. Not now, Ling. I'm busy, he replied without looking at me. But this is about you. It's about your life, I interjected, frustration taking over me. Jun, who was by my side, decided to join the conversation. Wei, we met a sage in the mountains. He gave us a riddle that might help you understand what you are seeking. We stopped, finally looking at us, but still seemed skeptical. A riddle? What does that have to do with business? It's about true wealth, Wei, I said, trying to convey the urgency of our discovery. We need to understand that what you are really seeking goes beyond money. He crossed his arms defiantly. And what do you suggest I do then? Set everything aside and pursue an abstract ideal? That's not what we're saying, Jun interjected. It's about finding a balance. The riddle the sage gave us can help us understand that. Wait let out a sarcastic laugh. How many times do I have to hear this? Life is not a word game, you know that. His words echoed in my heart, bringing a deep sadness. He was so blinded by ambition that he couldn't see the lessons life was trying to teach him. I knew that no matter how hard we tried, he needed to find his own way. But what could we do to help him if he refused to listen? "We're here because we care about you, Wei," I said, sadness in my voice. "And if one day you look back and realize that you've lost everything that really mattered, what will be left?" But Wei just turned his back, walking away once again. I looked at Jun, feeling that we were losing our friend to greed. The journey we had begun seemed increasingly difficult, and the shadow of discord grew denser each passing day. The sunlight filtered through the leaves of the trees, creating a dancing pattern on the dirt floor. I was beside Jun, with a light heart but a troubled mind. We had decided to follow the sage monk's advice and seek more wisdom about life and true wealth. The path to the mountain where the monk lived was long and filled with challenges, but there was a determination in our steps that made me feel we were on the right path. "Do you think this journey will really teach us something?" Jun asked, his gaze fixed ahead. "I hope so," I replied, trying to contain the anxiety building inside me. The wealth we seek cannot be merely material. We need to discover what truly matters. As we walked, I couldn't help but think of Wei. He had become a shadow of the friend we once knew. Ambition consumed him, and his once vibrant gaze was now cold and distant. I wished he were with us on this journey, but I knew he was trapped in his own web of desires. Finally, we arrived at a small clearing where the monk awaited us. He was seated in a lotus position, serenity emanating from him like a subtle perfume. "Welcome, young travelers," he said with a gentle smile. "What do you seek?" "We want to understand true wealth," I replied, taking the lead. "Wealth that is not measured in gold or silver, but in something deeper." The monk nodded, as if he already knew what we were seeking. True wealth lies in detachment and understanding that happiness does not reside in possessions, but in the experiences and connections we make with others. He paused and looked at us, his gaze penetrating. "If you wish to learn this, you must first let go of what you believe you know." Jun and I exchanged knowing glances. "How can we let go, Master?" Jun asked, his voice trembling with anticipation. "Practice meditation," the monk replied calmly. "Tune in to the present moment. Observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Learn to release what no longer serves you." At that moment, he led us into a meditation session. We sat around him, closing our eyes and allowing our breath to become our only awareness. At first, my mind was a storm of thoughts about Wei, about our future, about everything we had lost. But gradually the waves of worry began to calm, and a sense of peace started to settle in. When the meditation came to an end, I opened my eyes, feeling different. "What did you feel?" the monk asked. "Clarity," I replied. "A sense that the pursuit of wealth can be a distraction from what truly matters." He smiled. "Exactly. Remember, what you seek may be closer than you think. Now return to your village and practice detachment, generosity, and empathy." We thanked the monk and began our walk back, our hearts light and our minds more open. But as we moved away, I couldn't stop thinking about Wei and how he would react to all this. Meanwhile, Wei's life was taking an unexpected turn. He had invested everything in a new business, but the market had proven to be merciless. On a cloudy morning, Wei found himself facing a devastating reality. His dream of wealth had crumbled. The ambition, which once served as fuel, had now become an anchor weighing down on his shoulders. "I can't believe it's all over," he murmured to himself, looking at the papers scattered on the table. "How could I have been so blind? Everything I sought has turned to dust." Sitting alone in his home, Wei felt like a castaway in a sea of despair. He remembered Ling and Jun, how they tried to warn him about his greed. They always said that true wealth is not in possessions, he thought, a knot forming in his stomach. But I was so obsessed that I didn't listen. In the depths of his loneliness, he began to reflect on his choices. The idea of wealth had become a prison, and he now felt completely isolated. In search of solace, he decided to take a walk through the village, observing the interactions of the people, something he hadn't done in a long time. He saw children playing, families coming together, and friends laughing together. The joy emanating from them was palpable, and he wondered if he had ever genuinely experienced that. "Maybe I have lost sight of what really matters," he whispered to himself, the pain of his decisions weighing on his heart. But is it still possible to change? Can I rise again? Meanwhile, Ling and Jun returned to the village, filled with new perspectives. The joy on their faces was evident, but it soon turned to concern when they saw Wei's dejected expression. What should have been a warm reunion became a moment of awkward silence. I approached him, hesitant. "Wei," I began, my voice soft, "we are here for you. What happened?" He lifted his eyes, and for a brief moment I saw the pain and loneliness reflected in them. "I've lost everything, friends, and now what am I without wealth?" "You are so much more than your possessions," Jun replied, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've always had friends, love, and a community that cares about you." Wei looked at us, searching for an answer we weren't sure we could give. How can I believe that now? How can I rise again? "Maybe the answer lies in learning what it truly means to be rich," I said, trying to encourage my friend. "We went to the monk and learned about detachment and generosity. We can help you find a new path." He shook his head, the struggle evident on his face. "I don't know if I'm ready for that. Wealth was all I ever wanted." "But what do you really desire, Wei?" Jun asked with an intense look. "The wealth itself or the happiness it promised?" We three sat in a circle, and Wei began to cry, tears streaming down his face. He was lost, but there was a glimmer of hope, a small flame that still burned within him. "I want to be happy," he finally admitted, his voice choked. "But I don't know how." "Let's figure that out together," I said, holding his hand. "True wealth is built on the experiences we share and the lessons we learn, and we are here to help you." Ling smiled, and for the first time in a long time, Wei began to feel that perhaps, just perhaps, there was light at the end of that dark tunnel. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and lilac as Jun and I gathered in the center of the village. The atmosphere was vibrant, and the anticipation for the festival we had organized was palpable. The stalls were set up, filled with delicious food, local crafts, and the excitement of children echoed through the air. It was an event to bring the community together, an antidote to the loneliness and sadness that permeated the lives of many, including Wei's. "Do you think he will come?" I asked Jun as we arranged the final details. He looked toward the horizon, thoughtful. "I hope so. Wei needs this. He needs to understand that true wealth lies in people, not in numbers," Jun replied, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Soon people began to arrive. Laughter and conversations mingled with the aroma of the lovingly prepared dishes. Looking around, I realized how united the community was, supporting each other. Every face I saw carried a story, a struggle, and there we all were, celebrating life and solidarity. As the night progressed, music began to play and dancing took over the space. I lost myself in the joy of the moment, but from a distance, I could see Wei watching everything. He wore a conflicted expression, as if torn between joining us or staying apart. My heart ached in my chest seeing him like this, so lonely in the midst of the crowd. Jun noticed the look I cast and held my arm. "He's reflecting. Let's give him space," he suggested, and I agreed, even though the urge to go to him was strong. What could we do but wait for the celebration to draw him in? With the full moon illuminating the scene, the activities continued. Children ran back and forth, laughing and playing, while the adults shared stories and memories. I went to the food stall to help serve and soon found myself immersed in the joy that filled the atmosphere. Yet my gaze kept returning to Wei. "Ling," a familiar voice called me. It was the village elder, a wise and respected woman. "You are doing a wonderful job here. People need moments like this," she said with a warm smile. "Thank you, elder. We are trying to show everyone that unity is true wealth," I replied, excited. "Exactly. But don't forget that even those who seem far away may need a touch. Go to him, Ling." "Sometimes a simple gesture can make all the difference," the elder suggested, winking. With my heart racing, I gathered my courage and walked toward Wei. He was still standing there, watching the celebration, and I knew I needed to talk to him. As I approached, he turned to me, surprised. "Ling, I didn't expect to see you here," he said, his voice laden with a mix of emotions. "I couldn't help but come, Wei. This festival is about all of us. It's an opportunity for us to unite and support each other, especially you," I replied, trying to convey my affection and concern. "I don't know if I belong here anymore, Ling. I lost everything," he murmured, looking at the ground. "And what did you gain, Wei?" "What have you learned from all this?" I asked, challenging him to look me in the eyes. "True wealth is not measured just by what we have, but by what we share and how we connect with others." He hesitated, and for a moment I could see a spark of doubt in his eyes. I don't know. I was so focused on winning that I didn't realize what I was losing. People, friendships, everything took a back seat. I didn't know what really mattered. It's a difficult journey, Wei, but you're not alone. We're here for you. Jun and I want you to join us, to find a different path, I said, trying to encourage him. He shook his head as if trying to process everything I was saying. Maybe I've lost myself. But what if I can't find my way back? Returning is a choice you can make every day. Look around you. People are here, willing to welcome you, to support you. "It's not too late," I replied, gesturing to the ongoing festivities where laughter and music created a warm atmosphere. Wei looked at the scene with misty eyes. I could feel that he was beginning to understand. "It's so beautiful," he murmured. "Yes, and it's all because of our community. We're in this together," I said with an encouraging smile. "Come on, let's join them." He hesitated once more, but then, as if a decision was made within him, he took a deep breath. "Okay, let's go." Together, we walked toward the center of the festival. The music was loud, and the energy was contagious. When we arrived, some children ran up to us, pulling us to dance. Wei seemed hesitant, but I encouraged him. "Come on, what do you have to lose?" And to my surprise, he started to dance. At first a shy movement, but soon he let loose, laughing and having fun. The smile that blossomed on his face was like a ray of sunshine, and I knew I was witnessing the old Wei coming back to life. "This is amazing!" he exclaimed as the children spun around him. "I haven't felt this in so long." "Welcome back, Wei," I said, feeling a knot unravel in my heart. This is what we lose when we let ourselves be carried away by ambition. The party continued, and Wei began to interact with people. He helped serve food, chatted with old friends, and started to open up again to the community. I watched from a distance, my heart full of hope and joy. Jun joined us, and the three of us found ourselves in a moment of unity. "I was hoping you would join us, Wei," he said with a smile that lit up his face. "I didn't know I could feel this again," Wei replied, his eyes shining. "I think I was so focused on what I didn't have that I didn't see what was right in front of me. That's what we're trying to show. True wealth is made of moments like this, of love, friendship, and mutual support," I said, feeling that together we were beginning to understand the deeper meaning of the numbers we had sought so much. The festival unfolded around us, and with every laugh, every dance, and every shared story, I felt we were all rising up again, not just as individuals, but as a community. Wei was finally beginning to understand that life was much more than the numbers in his bank account. It was about the connections we make and the experiences we share. And there, under the moonlight, amidst laughter and music, I realized that the journey of self-discovery we had begun was just starting. True wealth was already within us, pulsing like a collective heart, waiting to be discovered. The morning of the festival was radiant. The sun shone brightly over the village, and the aroma of delicious dishes filled the air. Away was there in the center of the action, a place I never imagined I would be after my obsession with wealth. The joyful voices of children echoed around me as I helped serve food, a simple act that now felt full of meaning. Look, Wei, look how they smile. This is better than any gold I've ever earned. Jun's voice brought a smile to my face. He was next to me, holding a tray full of rice dumplings. Do you remember how you used to play with them when we were kids? Yes, it feels like an eternity ago, I replied, feeling a wave of nostalgia. The warmth radiating from my heart was something new to me. I was surrounded by laughter and joy, and for a moment, the worries about money and business felt so distant. As I served the dumplings, I realized that the energy around me was changing. With every smile I received, every thank you I heard, something inside me transformed. It was no longer ambition that moved me, but a sense of belonging and love. Hey Wei, a familiar voice called me. I turned and saw an old childhood friend, Chen, approaching. He was now a successful businessman, dressed elegantly with an aura of confidence. Long time no see, huh? He said, smiling. You're different. Yeah, I'm trying to find myself again, I replied, a bit embarrassed. I'm helping out here at the festival. That's great. True wealth comes from cultivating relationships and helping others. You must know that by now, right? Chen said with a sparkle in his eyes. I hesitated, thinking of all the times I had ignored that truth. Yes, I lost sight of that for a while, I confessed, looking at the ground. I just wanted to succeed, but I ended up drifting away from the people who really matter. You are not alone, Wei. Many of us have gone through this. The important thing is that you are here now, Chen said, placing a hand on my shoulder. Life is so much more than accumulating possessions. It's about the connections we make. I felt a lump form in my throat. You are right. I am grateful to be here, to be with my friends again. I looked at Ling and Jun, who were busy with their tasks, and realized how much they meant to me. After a while, the children began to gather around the table, eager for their pastries. The joy on their faces made me smile genuinely. Here you go, little ones. A pastry for each of you, I said, enthusiastically handing out the treats. Thank you, Wei, shouted a little girl, her eyes shining with joy. That simple interaction made my heart race. The happiness I had sought in material wealth was now right in front of me, in the innocent laughter and smiles of the children. As the festival continued, I was swept up in the atmosphere of celebration and community. People danced, laughed, and shared stories. It was as if I'd been transported to a new dimension, where true wealth was measured in love and friendship, not in money or possessions. Hey, Wei, Ling called to me, approaching with a radiant smile. I'm so glad you decided to join us. You're doing a wonderful job here. Thank you, Ling. I really needed this. Being here makes me see things differently, I replied, feeling the sincerity in every word. What did you and Jun discover about the numbers? Ling hesitated for a moment, as if pondering her words. The numbers represent much more than we think. They symbolize virtues we should cultivate in our lives. Love, friendship, compassion. Those are the true riches. I want to learn more about that, I said, eager to understand. I want to be better and not get lost in ambition again. Ling smiled, and her eyes sparkled with a warmth that comforted me. Then let's learn together. The path of wisdom is ongoing, and there is always room for growth. I believed her. The environment around us was filled with life and positive energy, and I didn't want that feeling to end. The music began to play, and people started dancing, creating a vibrant atmosphere. Jun pulled me to dance, and suddenly I found myself laughing and twirling as if everything was falling into place. "Look how happy we are, Wei. This is freedom," Jun exclaimed as he danced gracefully. "Life is a dance, and we should enjoy every moment." "You're right, Jun. Life is a dance, and I want to dance with you all." I was finally understanding what it meant to be present, what was truly important. After a few hours of festivities, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The festival was coming to an end, but the energy was still palpable. The community had come together, and everyone seemed to have found a new purpose in that celebration. "I want to thank you all," I said to my friends, feeling emotional, "for being by my side even when I was lost." I realize now that true wealth is about being here, together, sharing moments. We all have our ups and downs, Wei. "The important thing is that we're together again," Ling commented, lightly touching my arm. "Let's build a better future, a future based on love and friendship." With a smile, I nodded. "Yes, let's do that. I'm ready to change. I want to be a better friend, a better human being." I knew that the journey wouldn't end there. There was much to learn, many challenges ahead, but for the first time I was excited to continue. The festival was just the beginning of a new life, a life where true wealth would not be measured in numbers, but in values, in connections, and most importantly, in love. The sun slowly set behind the mountains, tinting the sky with hues of orange and pink, as I, Ling, watched Wei and Jun sitting in front of me at our small wooden table. The scent of fresh tea lingered in the air, and for a moment everything felt perfect. However, the tension between us was still palpable. Wei, with his distant look, seemed to be reflecting on the decisions he had made, while Jun, anxious, was bombarding his friend with silent questions. "So what will we do now?" I asked, trying to break the silence. "We need a plan to move forward with our lives." Wei lifted his head, his eyes met mine, and for a brief moment I noticed a different spark in them. It was as if he was finally beginning to understand what truly mattered. "I don't know yet," he replied, his voice low. "But I feel that we need to explore more about those numbers we heard. What do they really mean?" Just at that moment, a familiar figure appeared in the distance. The old sage, the one Jun had consulted in the mountains, was walking toward us, his presence emanating a calm that immediately enveloped us. His eyes, deep as the sea, seemed to carry centuries of wisdom. He stopped before us and with an enigmatic smile said, "Greetings, my young friends. I see you are in search of answers." "Yes, Master," I replied, feeling a knot of anticipation in my stomach. "We talked about those numbers that attract wealth. What do they really mean?" The old sage sat down at our table, making the atmosphere feel even cozier. "The numbers you seek are not simple digits. They represent essential virtues that we cultivate in our lives. True wealth is not in material possessions, but in the relationships we build and the values we embrace." Jun looked at the sage, his eyes shining with curiosity. "So, what are these numbers, Master?" The wise man smiled as if he had been expecting this question. "The 10 numbers you seek are symbols of virtues: love, friendship, generosity, empathy, gratitude, patience, honesty, humility, perseverance, and wisdom. Each of them is more valuable than any material wealth one can imagine." Wei nodded as if he were processing each word. "But how can we apply this in our lives? How do we know if we are cultivating these virtues?" "That is an excellent question," the wise man said, looking into the eyes of each of us. "The practice of these virtues begins with small actions. Love can be expressed in a simple gesture, a kind word. Generosity reveals itself when you offer help to those in need, and empathy grows when you put yourself in someone else's shoes." "But what about ambition?" I asked, recalling the days when Wei was obsessed with wealth. "Shouldn't we have ambition?" "Ambition is a quality, Ling, But it must be balanced with wisdom and humility, the wise man replied. True ambition is the one that seeks the greater good, that cares about the impact your actions have on others. Wei looked contemplative. And what if I have failed in all these virtues? How can I start over? The wise man leaned a bit further forward. We all make mistakes, Wei. The important thing is to acknowledge the mistakes, learn from them, and strive to cultivate these virtues every day. The wealth you seek is not a destination, but a journey, and every step taken with sincerity and love brings you closer to it. I felt a wave of hope rise within me. So, we already have this wealth inside us, right? Our experiences, our friendships, all of this is part of what makes us rich. Exactly, Ling, confirmed the wise man. You already possess true wealth. The connection you establish with each other, the lessons you have learned along the way, all of this is invaluable. Jun, who seemed to be in a state of ecstasy, asked, and what do we do now? How can we share this wisdom with others in the village? Start with small actions, the wise man responded. Organize gatherings, talk about what you have learned. Use your experiences to inspire others to cultivate these virtues as well. True wealth multiplies when it is shared. Wei, now more excited than ever, exclaimed, we can have a festival, an event where everyone can come together, share stories, and learn about these virtues. Yes, I agreed, feeling the excitement grow. We can create a space for people to connect, help one another, and celebrate the true wealth they already possess. The wise man smiled, satisfied with our ideas. This is an excellent initiative. Remember that by cultivating these virtues, you will be planting seeds that will bloom in your lives and in the lives of many others. As we talked about the festival, a sense of hope and renewal filled the air. I looked at my friends, Wei and Jun, and realized we were more united than ever. The experiences we lived had shaped us, and now we were more than just friends. We were soul brothers. The old wise man stood up, preparing to leave. Remember, young friends, true wealth is a reflection of what we cultivate within ourselves. Move forward with love and wisdom, and you will see your life transform in incredible ways. With a wave of his hand, he walked away, leaving us in a state of contemplation. I looked at Wei and Jun, and a wide smile spread across my face. We are about to embark on a new journey, my friends. Let's start sowing these virtues in our lives and in the life of our village. Yes, let's do it, said Wei, now with renewed determination. Let's show everyone that true wealth is not something to be gained, but something that is already within us. And so, with hearts full of hope and a new vision of what really matters, we began to plan our festival, ready to share the true wealth that had already been revealed to us. Now, let's take a moment to reflect. This story teaches us that true wealth is not in what we accumulate, but in the connections and virtues we cultivate. Ambition without balance can lead us away from what truly matters: friendship, love, and compassion. The monk reminds us that happiness and prosperity come from within, and when we focus on virtues, life gifts us something far more valuable than gold. Now, I invite you to reflect on this. What do you believe is true wealth in your life? Comment below on what lesson you took from this story and how it can impact your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more transformative stories and leave your comment. And of course, see you in the next video, where you will be surprised by other beautiful and wise stories.